And Holy Week is bookended on the second Sunday by Easter, by Resurrection Day. And on that Sunday, a conquering king is the one who we celebrate, a king who resurrects. But unlike the first time through Jerusalem, he's not necessarily recognized at first. But both Sundays, both bookends of Holy Week are celebratory. However, today and tomorrow, Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday, which come in between these bookends, are far less pleasant days. Today we commemorate the last meal that Jesus shared with his followers. And tomorrow, of course, we remember his crucifixion and his death on the cross. As the feeling of the week, as we are going to read in a moment, grows dim and dark for the characters in the Bible, you will notice that the light in this room will grow dim and dark as each candle is blown out symbolically one by one. So why do we call it Maundy Thursday? I've heard some conversations and questions being asked around campus. What is that word? Is it just a mistaken Monday, Thursday? No. Maundy Thursday refers to the events that took place on the Thursday evening before the crucifixion would be the next day. These events are recorded, among other places, in John 13. Right after Jesus has done an unthinkable thing. He has gotten out a sponge, some water, some soap, and he's washed the feet of his disciples, of his friends. That's unthinkable because there were servants whose job it was to do that. Not only does he do it to equals, he calls them friends, but actually he does it to those who are below him because he is their master. And after he does that, he says this. He says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you." And so the word Maundy just means commandment. You can kind of hear it. Mandate, Maundy. And that commandment is to love. So in effect, the king of the Jews, the king actually of the whole world, the king who conquered not people, but their sin, the king who beat death, his way is the way of service to others. His way is the way of love. So Maundy Thursday, today, is the day Christians remember the very basics of their faith. That the community that we are to be, and that includes Stony Brook, that we are to be among each other and that we are to be to other people who do not believe as we do, is a community commanded to love. Now this service is called a tenebrae service. We got all sorts of new words today, don't we? Tenebrae means darkness, and it refers quite literally to the process by which the candles go out, the lights are dimmed. But why do we do this? The darkness represents a few things. One of the things it represents is that one by one, Jesus' followers, his friends, they basically ditched him. They left him. And it's a very dark story. If you have been abandoned by your friends, you can relate to that kind of darkness. But the darkness, even more importantly, represents the sin that Jesus takes on the cross. And so as the last song is sung this evening, the auditorium is going to be pretty dark, and the mood will be dark. It'll be somber as well. Despite the reassurance that Jesus provides his friends, he says, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. As the night ran into morning, with Jesus' arrest, with his torture, and then finally his death, it was a very agonizing 24-hour period of time. You can imagine the confusion as you read hear the scriptures read, the confusion and the anguish and the sorrow of Jesus' followers and of his family. So I hope that you take this dark mood seriously. We're not actually trying to depress you before the break. We want you to take it seriously because for Christians at least, it's something that we often ignore. I know if I were to quiz my children and say, what is Easter about? I think we begin with Easter bunnies and chocolate. That's kind of a mistake. Easter is a wonderful conclusion to a very tragic story. And so spend some time thinking about and feeling the darkness of this story. So the service will end in darkness, literal darkness. And you will exit with a song being sung to you. You will exit silently. I would ask that you not talk to your neighbor. I would ask, and this will be harder, that you not look at your phone. Wait till you're outside of the auditorium. When the choir is singing this last song, you will see the readers in the front row stand up and they will exit. And I would like you to follow them first. I would like the middle section to be dismissed, and then when they're finished, the side sections. I'm not going to get up and instruct you. They will lead you. All right? Thank you.
Lesson 1, Matthew 26, verses 20 to 25. When evening came, Jesus was reclining at the table with the 12. And while they were eating, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." They were very sad and began to say to him one after the other, "Surely you don't mean me, Lord." Jesus replied, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born." Then Judas, the one who would betray him, said, "Surely you don't mean me, Rabbi." Jesus answered, "You have said so."
Please rise and join me in singing hymn 203 and Canopy.
Second lesson is from the Gospel of Matthew, the 26th chapter. Then Jesus told them, "This very night you will all fall away on account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter replied, "Even if all fall away on account of you, I never will." "Truly, I tell you," Jesus answered, "this very night, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter declared, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the other disciples said the same.
Please stand and join me in singing hymn 177, What Wondrous Love Is This?
The third lesson is from Mark 14, verses 32 through 41. They went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death," he said to them. "Stay here and keep watch." Going a little farther, he fell to the ground and prayed that if possible, the hour might pass from him. "Abba, Father," he said, "everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Simon," he said to Peter, "are you asleep? Couldn't you keep watch for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Once more he went away and prayed the same thing. When he came back, he again found them sleeping, because their eyes were heavy. They did not know what to say to him. Returning the third time, he said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. The hour has come. Look, the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners."
Lesson number 4, the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 47 through 52. While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Jesus said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword."
Please stand and join me in singing hymn 167. We'll sing a song of Bethlehem.
Lesson 5, Luke 22, verses 54 through 62. Then seizing him, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. And when some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She looked closely at him and said, "This man was with him." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him," he said. A little later, someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." "Man, I am not," Peter replied. About an hour later, another asserted, "Certainly this fellow was with him, for he is a Galilean." Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly.
Please stand and join me singing hymn 185, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross.
sixth lesson comes from John chapter 18, verses 33 through 38. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked. "Or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into this world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again to the Jews gathered there and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him."
seventh lesson is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 27. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." All the people answered, "His blood is on us and our children." Then Pilate released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified.
Lesson 8, Mark 15, verses 16 through 20. The soldiers led Jesus away into the palace and called together the whole company of soldiers. They put a purple robe on him, then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on him. And they began to call out to him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Again and again they struck him on the head with a staff and spit on him. Falling on their knees, they paid homage to him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple robe and put on his own clothes. Then they led him out to be crucified.
The ninth lesson from the Gospel of John, chapter 19. Carrying his own cross, he went out to the place of the skull, which in Aramaic called Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle. Pilate had a notice prepared and fastened to the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this sign, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and the sign was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. The chief priests of the Jews protested to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews, but that this man claimed to be King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." When the soldiers crucified Jesus, they took his clothes, dividing them into 4 shares, one for each of them, with the undergarment remaining. This garment was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. "Let's not tear it," they said to one another. "Let's decide by lot who will get it." This happened that the scripture might be fulfilled. It said, "They divided my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment." So this is what the soldiers did. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to her, "Woman, here is your son," and to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, this disciple took her into his home. Later, knowing that everything had now been finished, and so that scripture would be fulfilled, Jesus said, "I'm thirsty." A jar of wine vinegar was there, so they soaked a sponge in it and put the sponge on a stalk of the hyssop plant and lifted it to Jesus' lips. When he had received the drink, Jesus said, "It is finished." With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Now it was the day of preparation, and the next day was to be a special Sabbath. Because the Jewish leaders did not want the bodies left on the crosses during the Sabbath, they asked Pilate to have the legs broken and the bodies taken down. The soldiers therefore came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with Jesus, and then those of the other. But when they came to Jesus and found that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Instead, one of the soldiers pierced Jesus' side with a spear, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water. This is the word of the Lord.